Most of you already know that I hate working on Nissans. I've had one of my earlier videos in my YouTube adventure was basically my distaste for Nissans, how they do code setting criteria, how their service information is, how they are just in general extremely frustrating most of the time to work on, test, and things like that. And this 2018 Rogue is another prime example of why they're extremely frustrating and why I just feel sorry for anybody that owns or has to work on Nissan product. So let's get into this thing. So the problem we've got with this one is these warning messages right here, crash avoidance stuff. This light stays on all the time, but we get these messages, okay? And this one is very similar to my frustrating Nissan video. If you've not watched that one, I'll put it up here, but I'm sure most of you have. So on that one, we had some U1000 codes. Well, guess what this one's got? You guessed it. We've got some U1000. And if you trouble-treat any of these, I'm sure it leads you back to diagnose a U1000. ECM, what do we got in here? U1000. HVAC is actually a sunshine sensor, so not really too concerned about that, but we've got U1000 here. ABS faulty. I'm sure if this one's in there, it tells you to go back and look at these codes, and do you got a 1000, follow that. We're going to get into that in a little bit, just to make sure. ABS module, U1000. So, and chassis module right here, chassis control, U1000. What is this thing fussing about? We do see that we've got some things that are grayed out. Now, this does not mean this is equipped. Pre-crash seat belt. I've never actually seen that before. Adaptive lights. This one, where's my LC? That one stands for lane camera. See, we don't have a camera. It would be in with this ADAS stuff. We've also got this parking distance control, which is sonar. I don't actually know if this thing has that. I would think if it did, it would be bumper sensors. So none in the rear bumper. I bet there's not none in the front either. Nope, none in the front. So I'm gonna bet we're not equipped with the sonar module or the park assist stuff. So we've got lots of codes with the ADAS related stuff, the pre-collision type stuff. But when we get into service information, I'm sure it's going to tell us that we need to diagnose the U1000 before any of these other codes. And when you get into this U1000 on a Nissan, it's extremely frustrating. And we'll go over the circle loop that you get thrown into trying to do this with aftermarket scan tools, aftermarket tooling. It's a nightmare because you only get a U1000. It doesn't specifically tell you what these modules are actually fussing about. So even if you think this is a scan tool thing, like right now I'm using the top down. Okay, let's switch over to the Autel. The Autel's topology tree on this vehicle looks very strange. It's got a gateway, occupant detection sensor, and then everything seems to be on the same CAN bus. Well, this vehicle is actually a little strange. It being a 2018, there's two versions that we could have of this. This is version 1. Let me plug my Autel tablet or VCI back in so we can actually communicate with this thing again. And we'll go back. Yes, we want to exit the current model. Okay. We're going to actually auto detect this thing again. Hopefully the battery stays on. I haven't got me a maintainer hooked up yet. But it's going to auto identify to a point. It asks us, do we have a 2018 1 or 2? And this actually means version 1 or version 2. I already showed you version 1. Let's look at version 2. And then, do we have electronic parking brake? This one's no. It actually has a foot brake. So, okay. Now let's see what this topology tree looks like. Slightly different. But you see how we've got more breakouts over here. We've got more CAN labels down here. Let's see if this tree looks any different. And this being a Nissan, it's going to take a few seconds to scan. And so far, every network is communicating. So what is this thing worried about? We know we don't have lane. We know we don't have sonar, AVM. I think that's going to be something with this. I'm not really positive. I would have to figure out exactly what it's talking about. And my ignition just turned off. Turn you back on. 4-wheel drive. We're actually not a 4-wheel drive. In auto drive position, I have no idea what that is. This would be telematics. Don't know if this is actually equipped to telematics either. So this topology looks a little more informative of the three, but this topology is kind of wrong because the best I can figure out, this car should be a version 1 because of the build date. And the build date on this is December of 2017. So this would have been a basically first production kind of run of the 2018 models. So if there was a version change, I would think that would be partway through the year, like maybe June, July time after that, they'd have the version change. So, not a whole lot of help here. Let's dig a little deeper. Alright, so I've got the pre-scan pulled up here from the other day. And this is the Autel pre-scan that I took. And so, if you're looking through these, you may see some stuff that you think might help you. But like I said, these are all going to lead you back to the diagnose the U1000. So for instance, the engine code, we got this P1568. Well, we go over here. P1568 is displayed with a U anything. Diagnose the U code first. Okay, so yep, that one's no help. If we go on down, we've got some of these codes in the ADAS module, like this C1A26. I have no idea what ECD mode malfunction is, but we have that code pulled up. Is it displayed with a U1000? Okay, diagnose the U1000 first, like I kind of figured it was going to say. And then let's go on down. We've got some other stuff here. What was the other one I pulled up? Oh, we actually had an actual different U code in the ADAS module, or the ICC module. Intelligent Cruise control sensor CAN communication circuit. So this one looks to be like a more specific U code, something that would point you in a real direction. Well, if you thought that, you'd think wrong, because it says, is U1502 displayed with a U1000? Diagnose the U1000 first. Frustrations of Nissans. So that code, even though it looks like it would be some help, very specific, it is not. So what does the Diagnose U1000 even look like when you look it up on Nissan service information? Well, here it is. Perform the self-diagnosis. Basically turn the car on, read the codes, check to see if a U1000 is set. And I've actually specifically picked the one in the ICC module. You can actually get this same U1000 in a lot of modules, and they all kind of say the same thing except perform self-diagnostic of something else. So in this case it says perform self-diagnostic results of laser radar. Is U1000 current? Yes. Then we need to follow the flow chart. Oh great, we've got a flow chart. The flow chart, however, is not great. Interview the customer, check the vehicle condition, check CAN system type, and we'll get into that a little bit. Some of these things are only going to make sense and work if you're using OEM tool and OEM software. Create an interview sheet. Yes, we need to interview the customer to find out about what's causing this U1000. And then detect the root cause with consult. Inspection, repair, replacement, blah, blah, blah. So it's going to go into more detail about these. Interview your customer, ask them questions about things, inspect the vehicle. Basically, is anything damaged? That's kind of what it's getting at. And then check CAN system type. How to use the CAN system type specification chart. I think I kind of covered this a little bit in my frustrating Nissan video. And in that, I didn't really even understand it because I wasn't using OEM consult scan tool. I was using the R2R version, which doesn't work. Or at least for this anyway. So you're going to see this chart, and it's going to make a little more sense in a little bit. And then basically we've got to figure out which modules the car is actually equipped with, and we tell that to consult. And I have no idea why we still need to do an interview with the customer, but there's an interview with the customer. And the battery's trying to turn off on me. I do have a charger on it now. So then it's down here, detect the root cause with consult. Like, it basically thinks consult is going to tell you what's wrong with this car. No, it's not. And then basically figure out what you need to figure out down here. Now, consult is going to point you in a direction, at least, but it's not going to give you the root cause. So I actually have consult. Let's open that up. Alright, so this is Nissan Consult, and like I said, I'm using the real Nissan interface. It's actually Nissan, Renault, and Mitsubishi use this thing that's called the VI. What is this thing called? VI3. That's what they call it. So let's go ahead and do a diagnose all systems. It is slightly faster than a aftermarket scan tool, but it's still kind of slow. Nissans are just slow. So here's that thing. Corresponds with multiple versions, and I don't know exactly how you're supposed to be able to tell when the version change happens, but like I said, this thing was actually built in 2017, so I'm just assuming we're version 1. I could be wrong, but that just makes sense to me. So we're going to pick version 1 and confirm that. Now it's going to do a system call. System call is basically it's going to ping all the modules. Anything that responds is going to then scan for codes and things. If you don't get a response, that means it's not going to put it in the list. So you don't know that a module is not communicating if it is equipped. You just, yeah, it's stupid. Why would you not just put all the modules on here that the car is equipped with? Seems like it should be able to know these things. Alright, so now that it's finished its system call, we'll actually get into the scan tool. It's automatically going to scan all the codes of all the modules, and you're just going to basically see all these same codes that we already had. But at least with Consult, it's giving us a little better terminology of what these modules are called. And as you can see, there's a lot of green stuff, things that don't matter, but we got all these reds, meaning these are current codes. If these were history codes, they will show up yellow, and there's no history codes in this, so it thinks all these are current right now. Like I said, it's all the same. So still no real help here, but with full Consult with the VI3, we have this little tab right here called Can Diag, and this is actually going to try to figure out what modules are actually on the car. Sometimes this will pick it by itself, and then sometimes we have to kind of give it some more information, and on this car we're going to give it some more information. So whenever this gets done, I'll kind of show you what it's asking for. So now it's finished kind of doing its scan, what it can do, and it can't determine exactly what this is. So now it's asking me for a SIS/model code, and it says it's 18 digits. Now, another frustrating part of Nissan's is I've had hit and miss luck on the car actually giving me a model code. And service information kind of tells you where to look for these things. Most of the time it's on the frame tag or body tag, and it's down here, model, and then this. Now we've got these spaces or dashes, those actually matter. You actually have to put those in. So let me type this in real fast, and we'll see which of these CAN networks or CAN types we've actually got. And see, this is actually telling us, you know, do we have this module or this module, you know, check marks and things. And there's actually another page of this. So lots of options here. So you don't want to just guess at this, because if you guess, it's going to give you wrong information. Everything after this depends on what you pick. So let me type this in. So I've got all this typed in, and now if we hit the search, it's going to basically tell us, okay, this model code is a type 2 CAN. And see, that's telling us that we don't have any of these modules equipped. So then we can hit set, and this can actually finish the CAN tree. It's basically a topology kind of in a way. And you can see we've got chassis CAN 2 is lit up red. That's the one that it has determined has a fault. So at least now we've got some direction here. And if we go back over to the service information, see, we've got now a chassis CAN communication circuit. We can refer to this, and this can put us on a little better path of where we need to go. But as you can see, there's still kind of a lot of stuff. We need to narrow this down a little further. So if we tab over to the chassis CAN2 side, the little tab here, or just double click it here, it'll carry us to it. We can see that it's kind of looking like it's fussing about a lane camera not detected, but there is no lane camera. It's kind of odd. It also has this question mark, and I think when they have a question mark, it could still have it or not have it. Let me see. I don't know if there's any of these others that's going to have that or not. Like this little box here, that could have it or not have it, I think. I'm not sure what like this means. A lot of this stuff I don't understand, and I've not found any real information on it. Like what is this? What do these numbers mean? But the ICC is normal, but you see it, we've got this red line going to it, and then the red line going over here to this, and then whatever this E2501 is, I have no idea what that is, but this at least gets us in an idea of what CAN network specifically is saying it's got an issue with. So we've greatly narrowed down where we need to be looking, at least. Okay, so since this thing doesn't have a lane camera, I'm kind of thinking my issue's going to be in this 2503 branch to the ICC. Even though it's saying it's normal, there's something wrong here, because these seem to be fine. This right here is questionable because it's not here. So I'm kind of probably going to go off in a rabbit hole of this, but I kind of got to start somewhere, and I feel like this is just the best place for me to start. So if we go back over here to our U1000 flow chart, we actually have this CAN communication circuit, and then malfunction area, main line between ADAS control module and ADAS control 2. That's not where our issue is. I'm thinking is the ADAS control branch line circuit. So we can go into this, and it's kind of going to basically make us check from the chassis control module to the ADAS or the ICC module, and basically just checking circuits. So I went ahead and just got the OEM diagram here pulled up. This is the CAN system for the whole car. This would be the version 1 diagram, I believe. It's kind of confusing to find out for sure, but if we scroll over here, we can find that this is the chassis module 19 and 7 that is talking about right here, 19 and 7, and then 11 and 8, and 11 and 8. So it's basically wanting us to check kind of from here to here, make sure this loop is good, because it just kind of circles back to itself. But I feel like from the information in consult that this section is where we've got an issue, specifically probably something with this section. So why does the ADAS control module show normal though? I don't understand that when it's got the red line to it. Maybe this thing's on a different network, because right here we've got ADAS control module that is on this other network. This would have side radars. I don't think we've got side radars, but we've also got ADAS network right here, which is on kind of the main CAN bus for everything. So it's a little confusing, but I feel like this is where I need to focus, specifically from this chassis module to this thing somehow. So I really want to get to this module and do my testing there, find these two CAN lines and see if we've got good signal there or not. So Nissan has this handy little document where it's got all the CAN modules and their locations. These are kind of just rough general locations. I've found sometimes they are pretty accurate and sometimes it's a little misleading, but we need to know where our ADAS control unit is. That's the one I'm kind of suspecting we need to find and test. So we're looking for ADAS control unit number 26. As you can see, 26 is somewhere around the rear bumper area. I'm guessing it's going to be on the inside of the car. And then I pulled up the actual removal process, which is talking about removing the luggage rear plate. And then there's the module. So getting to this point with aftermarket scan tools and information is a little tricky, but with Consult, like I said, it does kind of put you on a better path. It's not always exact, but it's at least a direction. And with this one right here's our module, and right here's our problem. I'm almost positive these are CAN lines because they're a twisted pair, and this is all rat chewed up. So I guess I've got some rat damage to fix here, and we'll revisit this in Consult and see if our network gets fixed by me fixing these wires. So I know y'all are going to be really curious, are these the CAN lines? Found the other side. I had to end up getting this whole panel off to be able to get in here to this other side of this to be able to fix this. Luckily though, there's no damage anywhere else. It just seems to be right here, hopefully. But what I did is I kind of pulled and wiggled on this and found out that it goes to pins 8 and 9, this yellow and gray on the end here. That is the wires there. So then I went back to all data and found the connector pins 8 and 9. We're a US production, so we've got well, it says except US production. I don't know where this was produced. It wasn't in US because it starts with a K, so I'm guessing Korea maybe. We'll look in a second. But so a gray and yellow wire right there. So this 8 and 9 is my wires that are over here damaged. And going back to my CAN bus diagram, pins 8 and 9 are this chassis CAN bus lines that I kind of thought we had an issue with. So why did it say okay? Who knows, but at least we got somewhere. So we'll fix these two wires and see what happens. Well, I got those two CAN lines soldered back together, and on Consult I went in, cleared the codes, and look, we've got no warning messages. That warning is because I've got doors open and such. I think that it shows on a screen somewhere. Yeah, see, warning. So that's what this is about. But the collision light's not on, the collision warning message ain't popping up. But my CAN diag thing on Consult that helped me get to that point still doesn't seem to be happy for some reason. I have no idea why, but I don't know. There's no code setting, car's running, so And I'm just going to put the back together, take this thing for a test drive, make sure everything's working like it should, and ship it back to the customer. So hopefully you guys found this informing. The struggles and frustrations of working on a Nissan continue always. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time.